You are listening to Mining Stock Education.
Our goal would be by the end of the year to have one of the most compelling copper gold portfolios in the business for exploration, which meets the threshold of companies such as the major gold companies or the major base metal companies.
I'm Bill Powers. It's Mining Stock Education. Thanks for tuning in. And in today's show, you're going to get an update from one of our sponsors, Coppernico Metals. They are exploring a project named Sombrero in Peru. And this project has been many years in the making. There's been phase 1 drilling that's occurred. They're waiting for some permits and phase 2 drilling. So Ivan Bebek, CEO and founder, thank you for coming on the show. Is there an update you can provide us with as to what is happening at Sombrero, please?
Absolutely. And as you know, Bill, the more quiet I've been, the more strategic and more work we've been doing in the background. And this fall, you'll see a lot of what we've been working on. But at Sombrero, it's been a bit of a slower pace to get towards these permits. We expect that to change here in the coming weeks. We've had to do some small scale deals on different things to do with the project, and those are all going extremely well. We hope to have announcements about a lot of the permitting and updates here in the next 30 days prior to our fall marketing campaign, which will be quite extensive with the company. We've gone out and we've surveyed our entire land position. We've identified numerous targets that will be in the pipeline of exploring Sombrero. These are really exciting because the scale of these are quite large, independent of the first 20 holes we drilled in phase 1, proving the skarn system was present, and it's also massive. That was what came out of that as a result. We have the most robust areas to drill yet where some previous drilling has occurred. So the next phase is going to be really exciting. You're going to see a lot of encouraging drill targets that we're going to get to test next, but at the same time, some really tier 1 targets along the pipeline in our entire land position come to life as we work on putting them in the permitting process and getting them all into the pipeline. We've seen the market really perform with the major mining companies, and it's now filtering down through the mid tiers. You've seen companies like Agnico Eagle in Canadian dollars go from $40 to nearly $180 a share. Our market always starts with the big ones and it filters down. The one thing that hasn't really changed much has been the pace of discoveries, of large world-class discoveries. So we've situated ourselves to make a large copper gold discovery in Peru, our analog being the 11th largest producer, Las Bambas. That has not changed for us. The focus is extremely intense with advancing this project, and we're pushing things as fast as we can forward. The copper market has been a little bit softer than we've seen in terms of equities, but you're seeing some great financings go up on advanced copper assets. We fall into the drill play category, meaning that we are an exploration. We're going to find something from zero that we could make into substantial value. And that's the curve that really attracts us to come into the space. In my first company, we went from 10 cents to $9 per share. We went from 0 to 5 million ounces of gold in a discovery. That's the kind of return. That's why people are holding shares in Sombrero. If we find something, it can deliver that kind of potential return, in terms of finding something new that wasn't already there before. Independent of Sombrero, I've talked in previous interviews and publicly about possibly adding assets to the portfolio. And for those of you who know where Sombrero came from, it came from Oren, where we had about 5 major assets, exploration assets between Canada and Peru. We have taken a real serious interest in the US. We are looking at gold and copper assets. Gold is somewhere that we've done extremely well. It's one of the best performing metals in terms of equities right now that we see in the space. And we want to expand the portfolio prior to this market really coming to life, which is kind of in motion right now. There's a very, very good positive increased sentiment towards the sector. And we're trying to deliver something that is not really happening, which is brand new discoveries of serious caliber, not just in places like South America, but within the US in the light of current Trump and the current administration being favorable to mining.
So in pivoting and looking for projects, gold in the States, does that mean you'll spend less time at Sombrero or focused on Sombrero?
Absolutely not. Sombrero is our flagship. It's more about let's get what we can before the market takes off, and let's find a reason to keep the news flow extremely active with the company so we can perform much better for our shareholders, right? Talking to Keenan Jennings yesterday, we had a good conversation about the copper space. It's slow, it's capital intensive, it takes time. And looking at the history of Sombrero, it took us 10 years to get to this point. The opportunity is real and it's really big, and it's going to take some more time to get into the real best parts of it and to really expose that value. We are speeding that up. We're getting to the second half of the way to get this next round of permits underway. From that perspective, I can't sit and wait for a market when there's really good opportunities out there that are coming to us because of our reputation and our ability to market and finance these things. And I want to build a performing share price in the fourth quarter of this year and offer multiple opportunities to shareholders so that we can really perform. So from that perspective, no, we will do what we did within Orin. We'll be advancing different projects in the pipeline. We'll have significant exposure to gold and copper. There's no pivot away from Sombrero. It's just adding more to the equation so we can be much more active. And the kind of deals we're looking to do are not capital intensive upfront. They're more about the work that we do in these projects. So it's not going to affect us in a big way from our financial model of where we're at with our treasury, which currently lasts into the middle of next summer, almost about 12 months of working capital from today. It's more about getting as much as we can before this gold market goes the next leg up, and to offer both. If you look at Newmont, Barrick, some of the largest gold producers in the world, and even Agnico Eagle, you're seeing a shift towards adding copper towards it. And what you get in that combination is you get a lot of sizzle out of the gold story or the gold part of the portfolio, and then you get a lot of value out of the copper. So being able to capture both really will give us a chance to perform extremely well and mitigate any kind of time delays that we see or don't see in the future. As far as being a major shareholder of Coppernico myself, I don't like waiting. I'm an anxious person, an aggressive person, and I'm so driven, ready to turn the next corner. But I just want to make sure that we have some of the best assets we can in the world to capture this bull market that we're headed towards.
In acquiring projects with little or no upfront capital, are you still going to be able to get 100% of those projects? Because that's always been your goal and how you've operated as an explorationist.
Yeah, everything has a price. As long as we get to a majority percentage meaningfully, that will be good enough for us. It comes down to the partner on the other side. We're picking some really high quality groups to negotiate with and, working towards that. So expect a really quality partner, expect, potentially a good ownership. Our threshold has always been 60 or 70% or more, and earn in to that extent. But no, we're trying to get as much as we can. And if there's success and we can create currency, then maybe there's a chance down the road to amalgamate into one. As long as you get towards north of 50% in a project, you're doing well on a good project.
So what would be the next catalyst that investors should look for? Would it be the permitting announcement out of Peru, or would it be the acquisition announcement out of the States?
I think your most imminently will be permitting announcements from Peru. We're going to try to do our best to work on these acquisitions the next 60 to 90 days. So that's coming closely behind it. We have a lot of surface programs going on the pipeline of new targets in Peru. We're seeing some great things. So there'll be news about that as well. As far as being quiet for the first half of the year, outside of the first round of drilling, you're going to see a lot of the story unfold. You're going to see where a lot of the merit behind the scale of Sombrero and its potential as a major district comes to life. We've rationalized our land position as well. We're going to shed some of our ground so that we're holding the most prominent parts of that land position. It's expensive to hold it, and some areas are challenging to get into, or they don't have the same geological merit as the others. I think we'll have well over 10, serious targets in that land position that we're advancing. So, we get a chance to really set ourselves up for success, not just within Sombrero, but also within the U.S., which I like to say is not only an emerging jurisdiction, but one that I'm extremely comfortable in. Various states are extremely mining friendly, and this is where we're looking. And it's one of the best places you could create value going forward and mitigate any further delays that could come out of Peru. We don't foresee any. It's an election year next year, but the exposure to have the potential for U.S. gold and copper assets is something that we think would complement our portfolio down in Peru extremely well.
You're trading on the major stock exchange in Toronto, but in the States, you're currently on the OTCQB. Do you plan to upgrade that in the near term to the NYSE American?
Yeah, we get a lot of good exposure. We also are trading in Frankfurt now, and so we will work our way towards the NYSE American. There's a big cost that goes with that. It's about $1 million Canadian a year, so an extra $100,000 a month or so in burn rate, mainly with liability insurance and director's insurance and whatnot. And we're not ready to take on that yet because we're still putting the portfolio together. as we put the portfolio together, as I get back on the road marketing this company, it's going to be a whole different company. And as that performance creates momentum, and we anticipate it will, going into the fall, we'll look to uplist at some point there. About half our shareholder base is US based, and we have a large support in Europe as well. So we will be marketing quite extensively, both across US and into Europe. This story has been coming together slowly. It's been undertold from the way I like to tell a story, because I've been waiting for a lot of pieces to come together. I am about ready to get on the plane, and it's going to be, a few weeks of every month. I will be doing the world tour to get the story out. Some of the targets we have that are developing at Sombrero are as exciting as of some of the early ones we've seen, and some are even more. And so that part's extremely encouraging, but getting a chance to build a portfolio out the way we did in Orin is something that worked extremely well in the past. And it gave us the chance to perform with the share price, and go after those world-class tier one type of discoveries. So for me, it's going to be a huge compliment to add more gold and copper to the portfolio from an exploration perspective, right as the market's starting to come to terms in terms of going towards the junior bull market that we've all waited for the past decade.
What do you have, about 10 months of runway too, if I calculate correctly, in terms of what you have ahead of you?
Yeah, just over that, about 11, 12 months of working capital. We have some warrants that are not far out of the money right now, but the fall plans that would give us adequate funding if those came together for us. We wouldn't have to perform much better to get them, but our price ambitions are quite higher above those warrants, and we're just going to go for it. And that's coming from the potential out of not just Sombrero, but of these new acquisitions and the business plan to move forward and create something that's not really present. If you look at some of the large discoveries that we've heard about, you see the success at NGX or Filo Mining's big discovery holes. These are 20 plus years to get to those kind of situations, right? They take time. We've put in our time. I'm not saying that it's going to take us 20 years to hit the big one at Sombrero. I'm just saying that, everything has progressed in a very positive manner towards that kind of potential within the Sombrero project. If you look at some of my sister companies that I work with and finance and back, such as Torque and Santa Cecilia, they have 800-900 meter intercepts. They're looking for a bit more grade, but that's the kind of scale of things we're looking at. If you look at tier one, they have some of the best silver exposure and veins on surface that we've seen globally. These are all major potential discovery opportunities. The weathering of this market, in a market that's not equity friendly for junior drill plays like we have, even though their tier one potential is to be major, it's been challenging, but we've been able to manage it well. And we've attracted some incredibly strong shareholders, including Tech. Newmont is a shareholder, to remind everyone, at Coppernico on the basis of Sombrero, and several other high net worth institutional, well-known people across industry have also been very patient shareholders with the company. We're at a point right now where we're about to turn the corner from being pretty quiet, putting things together for the next leg up, to really acting on that and being much busier as a junior with a lot more to say. And so it's going to be led by the permit advancements in Peru. It's going to be complemented by additional gold and copper assets in the US. And it's going to be, our goal would be by the end of the year to have one of the most compelling copper gold portfolios in the business for exploration, which meets the threshold of companies such as the major gold companies or the major base metal companies. You kind of meet both sides because you have the copper exposure as well as the gold exposure.
Did some of those big supportive institutional and corporate investors in Coppernico, did they encourage you or push you towards acquiring some more projects in jurisdictions that perhaps you can move a little quicker in?
No, it's not. No, they're fine with the wait on the scale of Sombrero. I mean, they move slow, bigger companies, and these big projects move slow as well. So it's not out of their timeline. What we're looking at doing is not going to be extremely dilutive in terms of capital needed, but it's going to be extremely active, and the opportunity is going to be extremely near term, which is something that's going to complement it. It will give us a position to finance and perform better as a share price, and possibly have a big win out of the US, which I can't think of a better place to get a premium on, in terms of mining jurisdictions around the world right now, in terms of a place where you could find a substantial copper or gold asset.
Okay. Is there anything else investors should be looking forward to, Ivan, as we conclude here?
No, I say just meeting in person. I've done a lot of Zooms. They're great. It's a great way to update and contact people. But as this unfolds, my plan is to be in person across many conferences everywhere. It's kind of at that pivotal stage of the asset of Sombrero to kind of go the next leg. And our business plan is starting to unfold as well. So it's going to be a very exciting fall going into the spring. A lot of exciting advancements towards drill permits and some new acquisitions, and then a very, very busy 2026. So it's going to be exciting from all sides. And the goal is to have a drill turning every month of the year, as this market starts to come together for the junior side of the space and the drill place.
Okay, the website to check out the company is COPRnicometals.com. As I said, it trades on the big board in Toronto under the ticker COPR, and currently in the States on the OTCQB under CPPMF. Ivan, thank you for this update, and thank you for sponsoring the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.